Hello and welcome. We are in chapter number 3 of GST material for intermediate course of ICAI. So we are in ICAI study material chapter number 3 of GST. What does this chapter deal with? This chapter deal with charge of GST. This chapter deals with charge of GST. This chapter deals with charge of GST. Chapter 1 we learnt about the introduction to GST. Chapter 2 we learnt about the concept of supply. Now that we have understood the concept of supply, we should proceed to the chargeability of GST. Chargeability of GST we should understand. Now, what are the learning objectives? What are the learning objectives or learning outcomes of this chapter? After studying this chapter, what you will be able to understand is what is the extent and commencement of CGST Act, IGST Act, SGST Act and UTGST Act. What is the extent and commencement of these acts? So to what extent the CGST Act is applicable and when did the CGST Act commence its applicability, we will be able to understand. Similarly, in respect of IGST Act as well as SGST Act and UTGST Act, we will understand the extent and commencement of these acts. Later on, we will be understanding the provisions relating to levy and collection of CGST and IGST. In the introduction, we already understood that at our intermediate level and final level, we will be learning only the provisions or law relating to CGST and IGST. SGST is kept outside the purview of our syllabus, both at intermediate as well as final level. However, the SGST or UTGST will be on similar lines as of that of CGST Act. Now, also you will be able to understand the provisions relating to reverse charge mechanism. So when tax is payable on reverse charge, that you will understand, and also we will be learning about composition levy, and also we will be learning about a notification which provides an option to pay the tax at a concessional rate. So these are the outcomes of this chapter. And what are the learning objectives or what is the chapter overview? We are learning about levy and collection of GST in India. So in that we will understand what is the extent and commencement of the acts like CGST, UTGST, SGST and IGST. What are the provisions relating to levy and collection of CGST and IGST? We will learn about composition levy, its nitty-gritties, and also there is a notification which provides an option to pay tax at a concessional rate. However, it comes with some riders or conditions that we will be learning. Now, in order to collect even a single rupee of tax from the people of this country, it should be backed by a law. Any law which has been legislated in our country should be consistent with the articles of the Constitution of India. Constitution of India is supreme. Within the four corners of the Constitution, legislation is to be made by the authority derived from the legislation. The central government or the state government has the power to levy and collect taxes. So to pave way for the implementation of GST, the 401 constitutional amendment was passed. Of course, it was passed in both the houses of the parliament. Thereupon, it went to state legislatures. At least 50% of them should ratify that. Now, having said that, by the passing of this 101 Constitutional Amendment Act, what has happened is the GST Act could be implemented. Now, with the introduction of GST, what has happened is various indirect taxes have been subsumed into the GST. So what are all those various types of indirect taxes which were prevalent in the pre-GST era? They being the central excise and additional duties of customs. You have this state VAT and also certain state levies like entertainment tax, entry tax, advertisement tax. All these types of levies, many kinds of levies of indirect taxes which used to be prevalent in the pre-GST era was subsumed into the GST. Now, all these topics we have discussed in the introduction chapter of our study material, that is chapter number 1. Now, coming to the chargeability, any statute for that matter, there should be a taxable event. The taxable event is the trigger for levy of a tax. Now, under GST regime, the taxable event or the trigger for levy of tax is a supply. We discussed at length the concept of supply in chapter number 2. Now, the CGST, and we also understood in chapter number 1 introduction that our model of GST is a dual concurrent system wherein the central government as well as the state government will simultaneously levy the tax on the supply of goods or services or both. Now, CGST and SGST or UTGST will be levied on intrastate supplies, and IGST levy will be levied on interstate supplies of goods or services. So, what we need to understand is there should be, for levy of tax, there should be a trigger. There should be a trigger. Now, what is the trigger under GST? So, under GST, the trigger is supply. The trigger is supply. Supply of what? Goods or services or both is the trigger for levy of GST. Now, the supplies can be classified. The supplies can be classified into two categories. What is the first one? Intrastate supplies. Intrastate supply. And what is the second one? Interstate supply. The first one is intrastate supply and the second one is interstate supply. Now, for intrastate supply, what will be levied? CGST plus SGST or UTGST will be levied. Now, for interstate supplies, what will be levied? IGST will be levied. Okay. Now, next point. The levy provisions. The provisions which will enable the levy of GST we are contained in section 9 of the CGST Act, and simultaneously it is contained in section 5 of the IGST Act. So, this levy of IGST is enabled by section 5 of IGST Act. Section 5 of IGST Act. Now, what about CGST Act? In CGST Act, This is enabled by Section 9 of CGST Act. So this is enabled by Section 9 of the CGST Act. Now under SGST and UTGST also there will be respective sections in SGST Act as well as UTGST Act. Okay, so if we want to revise, the supplies can be classified into two categories, intrastate and interstate. For intrastate supply, dual concurrent taxation means CGST plus SGST or UTGST will be levied. Now CGST levy is enabled by Section 9 of the CGST Act. IGST levy is enabled by Section 5 of the IGST Act. Similarly, the SGST Acts as well as the UTGST Acts will respective corresponding sections which will enable the levy of SGST or UTGST. That you should understand. Now, we very well know that for intrastate supply, dual concurrent taxation being the CGST plus SGST or UTGST will be levied. So first of all, we should understand as to what do you mean by intrastate supply. In intrastate supply, location of the supplier and the place of supply of goods or service are in the same state or union territory. So what we need to understand is, in intrastate supply, what is happening is two items are to be taken into consideration. What are the two items? Location of supplier as well as place of supply. Location of the supplier and place of supply both are in the same state or same union territory, then it will be treated as intrastate supply. So both are to be situated in the same state, then only it will be treated as intrastate supply. For example, A of Vijayawada supplies goods to B of Guntur. Okay. Now what we have to do is, what is the location of the supplier we have to take. Location of the supplier is Vijayawada, which is situated in Andhra Pradesh. Now place of supply is Guntur, which is also situated in Andhra Pradesh. How to determine the place of supply we will be learning at the final level. Okay, the value of supply and the time of supply will be learning in our intermediate course. But just for example's sake, you please understand now that the location of the supplier is Andhra Pradesh, and how to determine the location of the supplier also there are rules and provisions we will understand at a later point of time. So but for now what we have to understand is, if location of the supplier and place of supply both are situated in the same state or same union territory, in this example A is located at Vijayawada, so the location of supplier is Vijayawada is in Andhra Pradesh. Now the place of supply is at Guntur is also in Andhra Pradesh. Now location of supplier and place of supply are both situated in the same state. So it will become a intrastate supply. Okay, next. What do you mean by interstate supply? In interstate supply, the location of supplier and the place of supply are in two different states or two different union territories or in one state and one union territory. So we will understand it by example. Now we will understand as to what do you mean by a interstate supply. An interstate supply. What do you mean by an interstate supply? Now here what we have to understand is, again you have to take what is the location of supplier, what is the location of supplier, and what is the place of supply, what is the place of supply. Now here what is happening is, the location of supplier is in one state and the place of supply is in another state, or the place of supplier is, location of the supplier is in one state and place of supply is in union territory, one union territory, or the location of the supplier is in one union territory, place of supply is in another state, or place of supply is in one union territory, location of the supplier is in one union territory and the place of supply is in another union territory. Now in these cases what will happen is, it will become interstate supply. Now let us say A of Andhra Pradesh supply, A of Andhra Pradesh supply goods to B of Tamil Nadu. Now the location of supplier is Andhra Pradesh and the place of supply is Tamil Nadu. So the location of the supplier is in one state, the place of supply is in another state, thereby this will become an interstate supply. Okay. Next. We have to understand certain definitions in order to get a better meaning for the terms used in this chapter. What do you mean by central tax? Means Central Goods and Service Tax, which is levied under section 9 of the CGST Act. Okay. What do you mean by IGST or integrated tax? Integrated tax means the IGST levied under the IGST Act. What do you mean by state tax? Means tax levied under State Goods and Service Tax Act. What do you mean by goods? Goods we have already dealt with the definition of goods in chapter number 2. In chapter number 2 we already learned the definition of goods. Next, what do you mean by an exempt supply? What do you mean by an exempt supply? So exempt supply means, what do you mean by an exempt supply? What do you mean by an exempt? Why it is coming like this? Let me underline it properly. What do you mean by an exempt supply? Exempt supply means supply of goods or service or both which attracts nil rate of tax. So we will understand by writing it. Now what are we dealing with? We are dealing with exempt supply. We are dealing with exempt supply. So what do you mean by exempt supply? Means supply of goods or services or both or goods or services or why is it happening like this? Goods or services or why it is not writing? Goods or services or okay, we'll do one thing. Somehow this is not working. We should close it and again open it. What is this? OneNote for Windows, and we will maximize the screen. So what do you mean by exempt supplies? Exempt supplies means supply of goods or services or both. No, it is not writing. Something has happened somewhere. Select the pen. Select the pen and select the color. Okay, selected. Now it should write, but it is not writing. Something went wrong somewhere. Why is it happening? I am unable to understand. Now will it write? Now also it is not writing. I think the eraser got selected. The eraser got selected. Okay, now I will go to the pen. I will go to the pen and select this. Goods or services or both. So this is not working. So what we will do is we will go to this what you call whiteboard. We will go to the whiteboard and check the whiteboard whether it is working. Whiteboard, right. So what do you mean by an exempt supply? We will take this color, right. What do you mean? Again it is in the eraser mode only. What do you mean by an exempt supply? Okay, here whether it is working. Now here draw. So nothing will happen. Just I will check. So let's get back. What are exempt supplies? Exempt supplies. What are exempt supplies? Exempt supplies means the supply of goods or service or both. Right? So exempt supplies means the supply of goods or services or both. Okay, next. Which attracts a nil rate of tax. So what are all the exempt supplies? Which attracts nil rate of tax. Nil rate of tax. That is the first point. And what is the second point? Which may be wholly exempt from the tax. Which may be wholly exempt, wholly exempt from tax either under CGST Act or IGST Act, and also includes non-taxable supplies. Non-taxable supplies are also included. So these three together are considered to be exempt supplies. These three together are considered to be exempt supplies. So exempt supplies means supply of goods or services or both. Okay, on which the tax rate is nil, or they may be exempted under the provisions of the CGST Act or IGST Act, and it even includes the non-taxable supply. Okay, next comes, what do you mean by aggregate turnover? What do you mean by aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover means the aggregate value of all taxable supplies. This also we will write so that we will be able to understand in a better manner. So what do you mean by taxable supplies? Taxable supplies, or we are not dealing with taxable supplies, but we are dealing with aggregate turnover. So what do you mean by aggregate turnover? What do you mean by aggregate turnover? So aggregate turnover. So what do you mean by aggregate turnover? Now aggregate turnover means the value of all taxable supplies. Aggregate turnover means you have to take value of, what are they? Value of all taxable supplies. All taxable supplies. All taxable supplies. But don't take inward supplies on which tax is payable by a person on reverse charge basis. Don't take inward supplies. Don't take inward supplies on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism. Next, the aggregate turnover includes exempt supplies, export of goods or services or both. You also have to add exempt supplies. Exempt supplies. You should also add export of goods or services or both. So aggregate turnover means you have to take value of all taxable supplies, but you don't take inward supplies on which RCM is applicable. To that you add exempt supplies. To that you add export of goods or services or both. And interstate supplies of persons having the same permanent account number be computed on all India basis. You should also take interstate supplies of persons having the same permanent account number. So you have to add interstate supplies made to persons having same PAN number. same PAN number, that too on all India basis. On all India basis means, in one way what you can say is, this is nothing but the supply, interstate supply to distinct persons, interstate supply to distinct persons, or interstate supply to your other establishments situated in another state. Okay, but don't take CGST or SGST or UTGST or IGST. So in turnover the taxes are not included, or cess. You don't take these items. Now let us revise this one. What do you mean by aggregate turnover? You have to take the value of all taxable supplies, but don't take inward supplies on which RCM is applicable. To that you add exempt supplies. Also add the value of export of goods or services or both. Also add interstate supplies made to persons having the same PAN number. But don't take CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST or cess. Okay, this is the meaning of the aggregated turnover as defined in section 2 subsection 6 of the CGST Act. Now comes the definition of business. The definition of business we have already dealt in chapter number 2. In chapter number 2 we have already dealt with the term business. We defined there at length. Next comes the definition of consideration. Consideration also we defined it in section 2 subsection 17 of this CGST Act, and this also we have dealt in chapter number 2. This also we have dealt in chapter number 2. Again they are repeated here. Now person, the definition of person we have also learnt in chapter number 2. In chapter number 2 we have learnt the definition of the person. If you want to learn it again, go back to that session and you can understand there. Also, whom do you mean by recipient? Recipient also we have studied in chapter number 2. Okay, recipient also we have studied in chapter number 2. Now come to this one, reverse charge. Reverse charge, there we did not learn. Now here we will understand the meaning of reverse charge as defined under section 2 subsection 98 of the CGST Act. Reverse charge means the liability to pay the tax by the recipient of the supplier of goods or services or both, instead of the supplier of goods, supplier of such goods or services or both, under section 9(3) or 9(4) of the CGST Act, or under 5(3) or 5(4) of the IGST Act. Okay. Now we will understand it by writing. So now what is the definition we are going to learn? The definition what we are going to learn is reverse charge. Reverse charge is the definition we are going to learn. Now let us say A has supplied goods to B. Now, and so the charges, the levy can be divided into two types. One is forward charge, and the other is reverse charge. Forward charge and reverse charge. Under the normal circumstances, If A has supplied goods to B, A is the supplier, A is the supplier, B is the recipient, B is the recipient, and A is the supplier. Now, normally the levy will be on supplier, and this will be called as a forward charge. But if under certain circumstances the levy is on recipient, then we call it as a reverse charge. Then we will call it as a reverse charge. So normally the levy will be on the supplier. It is called as forward charge. If the levy is made on if the levy is on the recipient, then we call it as a reverse charge. Now, where these provisions are given? These provisions are given in section 9.3 or section 9.4 of the CGST Act, and the simultaneous provisions are in section 5 subsection 3 or section 5 subsection 4 of IGST Act. Okay, IGST Act and the CGST Act. So this is the definition of reverse charge. What do you mean by service? We have already learnt in the chapter number 2. So I am skipping here. If you want to have a revision of the definition of service, you can go to that respective episode and you can understand it. Next, whom do you mean by a supplier? This also we have learnt. But now we have to, in chapter number 2, now we have to learn what do you mean by taxable supply. What do you mean by taxable supply? Taxable supply means supply of goods or services or both, and which is chargeable to tax under the CGST Act. So taxable supply means a supply of goods or services or both which is chargeable to tax under the CGST Act. You will also have a definition in IGST Act saying that supply of goods or services are both which is chargeable to tax under the IGST Act. You will have a simultaneous corresponding definition in SGST Act as well as UTGST Act, stating that supply of goods or services are both which is chargeable to tax under the SGST Act. Like that you will have definitions, corresponding definitions in other acts also. Now what do you mean by a non-taxable supply? Non-taxable supply means a supply of goods or service or both which is not leviable to tax under the CGST Act or under the IGST Act. It is called as non-taxable supply. So non-taxable supply means supply of goods or services or both and is not leviable to tax under this Act or under the IGST Act. Okay. Whom do you mean by taxable person? We have learnt in the chapter number 2. In chapter number 2 we have learnt whom do you mean by a taxable person. Now come to the extent and commencement of GST law. Extent and commencement of GST law. CGST Act. The CGST Act extends to whole of India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So to our entire country, the CGST Act is applicable. CGST Act is applicable to our entire country. So extends to whole of India. Now here it has been stated that the CGST Act is applicable to whole of India. Whole of India. So what do you mean by India? So India has been defined. So what do you mean by India? India means territory as referred to in article number 1 of the constitution. We have article number 1 of our constitution. What is article? What is article number 1 of constitution? Article number 1 of our constitution. Article number 1 of our constitution. So what does it state? Name and territory of the Union, India, that is Bharat, shall be Union of States. The states and the territories thereof shall be specified in the first schedule. The territory of India shall comprise, what is happening? We will do one thing, we will open article number 1 of the constitution. Article number 1 of our constitution, of constitution of India. So article number 1. Otherwise we can do one thing, go to Constitution of India. Constitution of India. Constitution of India. Now Constitution of India in English. In English. Let it download. Now where is article number 1? Article number 1. Article number total how many articles? 490, 395, and you have schedules also, and also appendices. Now article number 1, here it is. India, that is Bharat, shall be Union of States. The states and territories shall be specified in the first schedule. The territory of India shall comprise of the territories of the states, the union territories, such other territories as may be acquired. So this is the territory of India as given in article number 1 of our constitution. Okay. Also it includes territorial waters. Also it includes territorial waters, also seabed and subsoil underlying such water, also continental shelf, also exclusive economic zone or any other maritime zone as referred to in this Act of Territorial Waters, Continental Shelf, Exclusive Economic Zone and other maritime zones Act. So what do you mean by India? India means territory of India as given in article number 1. It will also include the territorial waters, seabed, subsoil, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, and also the airspace above its territory and territorial waters. And also the airspace above its territory and territorial waters. Now here if you observe, this is the baseline, means this is the sea coast, this is the sea coast, this is the sea coast. Now territorial waters extend to 12 nautical miles. From there 12 nautical miles will be contiguous zone. Up to 200 nautical miles it will be called as exclusive economic zone. It will be called as exclusive economic zone. So what does India mean? All the territory as well as your territorial waters, your exclusive economic zone, your continental shelf. All these things will be also be included, and also the airspace above the territory and territorial waters. So the airspace above the territory as well as territorial waters, it will be treated as India. Next definition. What do you mean by state GST law? So in respect of that state or union territory having legislature extends to whole of that state or union territory. For example, Andhra Pradesh GST Act 2017 will apply to the whole of the state of Andhra Pradesh. Now mind you, state also includes a union territory with legislature. State will also include a union territory with legislature. Now the IGST Act 2017 extends to whole of India including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. So what about the UTGST Act? UTGST Act will apply to the union territories. What are the union territories? Union territories are Nagaland, Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Chandigarh, or any other territories as to be mentioned. And all these union territories, that is the union territories without legislature. So the UTGST Act will apply to union territories without legislature. Now for union territories Delhi and Puducherry, though these are union territories, but they have legislature. Since they have legislature, what will happen is they will have SGST Acts. Next comes for the purpose of this act, each of the territories specified in subclass A to F shall be considered as a separate union territory. Means all these A to F 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 union territories without legislation. All these union territories will be separately considered. Now what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is, let us say Andaman and Nicobar Islands are there, and you have Daman and Diu. So if somebody supply goods from Andaman Nicobar Islands to Daman and Diu, then this transaction will be considered as interstate supply and IGST will be levied. If someone is supplying, means the location of supplier and the place of supply. Location of supplier and the place of supply. So this is separate, this is separate. If somebody, location of the supplier is in Andaman Nicobar Island and the place of supply is in Daman and Diu, then IGST gets attracted. Okay, so that is why the implication of this explanation is the example what we have seen. Now that we have come to the actual provisions, we have completed the extent of applicability of the Act, as well as we also referred to certain definitions which were required for the purpose of this chapter. Now we have to proceed into section 9 of the CGST Act, which deals with the levy and collection of CGST, and section 5 of the IGST Act, which deals with the levy and collection of IGST, which we will deal in our next session.